welcome to another episode of Workforce Ready with NSTAR. My name is Dr. Nnamdi Henaj. I'm a founder here at NSTAR Technologies. And every week on this platform, we try to bring you resources and tools and tips. Thrive as you navigate making that career change into the world of information technology. I try to show you behind the scenes and under the hood of what to expect as you jump and make that career. So this platform is for career changers, people looking to get into a career in information technology. If that sounds like you, then you are welcome. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you can be updated and notified when we come live or put out new content. We're always putting out content. Make sure you're following NSTAR Technologies on Instagram and all of the social media platforms. But let's jump right into today's topic. Today I'll be speaking on transferable power, how to repackage your non-tech experience, whether it's in retail, healthcare, how to repackage your experience so recruiters value it. This is always a big conversation that I have with people who come to us and say, hey, I'm looking to make a transition into information technology. I'm looking to get into tech. I'm looking to start working in this field. And we always get into this debate. They'll tell me things like, man, I don't have the technical skills. I haven't done any tech before. And I always try to let them know there are things you've done that are actually transferable skills. Right? It's almost always, the case. There are things you do and you do in your current work life, in your current career life that are actually they're very useful and helpful. In fact, they could be advantages that your counterparts who are tech people might have. So please, let's lock in and go on this ride together. Now, again, this conversation is for people looking to make that career change. A lot of my fellow immigrants in this realm where we come from different backgrounds and then we relocate to our new home country and we're having to pivot, right, to get into careers that might be applicable here than, the opportunities, different from the opportunities we had back home. Right. I also am talking to people who are underemployed. You work, but you are not paid your worth, and you've heard that, hey, getting into tech is where you need to be to make a certain amount of money. All of these folks who are from non-technical backgrounds looking to get into tech. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Now, I want to dismantle this thought process, where people say, I have nothing tech relevant. They believe that, hey, I haven't done anything tech, and so there's nothing I bring to the table, and this is going to be a difficult transition for me. Well, you're wrong. After working with, people from various backgrounds over the last going on 10 years now, helping them get into tech, I can tell you categorically that it's not about the background you come from. It has absolutely nothing to do with whether you get into information technology or get into tech or not successfully. Do you have an advantage by going to school for computer science? Yes. Do you have an advantage for going to study information systems, electrical engineering, all of those, tech or tech adjacent programs? Of course you have an advantage. You're not starting from scratch. But at the same time, people who don't have that tech background or have worked in tech before, there are certain skills that you can bring that are relevant to making that transition into a career in information technology. All right, if you're with me, please put something in the chat, and let me know what your thoughts are on that. All right. A lot of people enter tech, already have experience that recruiters are looking for. Right, most of the time, I'm seeing people who are coming from marketing and sales and accounting. Right, people who are coming from other aspects of construction, logistics, trying to get into information technology. I've even had people who are in fitness trying to get into this realm. You already have experience that recruiters are looking for, that prospective employers value. But the problem is we don't know. Oh, well, not me, but you all don't know. The person who is applying to, right, might not know how to translate their experience, how to present what they already do or have done to showcase their skills, showcase their expertise, showcase their experience, to show it's relevant. It's something I work with my students on very closely, identifying what you already done so far, maybe some non-technical skills that are actually going to be your advantage, right? And get into that. So again, that's what we're trying to unpack in this episode. Now, I'm going to say this. Recruiters don't value titles. They value impact. The reason is, one, anything can be on that resume. The resume is not a legal document. I can put anything I like on my resume and it's valid, right? Now, does it mean I can do it? No. So it's not so much what you put on your resume. That is why even with an excellent resume, recruiters will still pick up the phone to have a conversation because they want to align the paper, what they have on the documents, with the person, the real person. All right. And so it's not just about the titles that you have on your resume. It's about impact, right? And I needed to check, can I demonstrate my value? Can I demonstrate the value I bring to a team, to an organization, to a project? Right? When recruiters read resumes, they are looking at outcomes, they are looking at the scope, and they're looking at what your role was. So what was the result you produced or you are part of producing, right? What was the scale or the scope of the work? Okay, we built a product, we built an app. I was part of the team that built an app that is serving 1,000,000 users. That is an outcome. The scope is 1,000,000 users, so you are part of building something that has scale and reach. Okay, great. That's what I'm looking for my client. My client is looking for somebody with experience in this realm. Okay, that's how recruiters are thinking. Right? The outcome you are part of producing, the scope of it, how large. If it's a minuscule project that they really, it might not move the needle for what we're looking for. Okay, and then responsibility. What did you do? What was your part in the outcome? Does that make sense? That is what recruiters actually are looking for. Okay, and so when they are when they are having conversations, they don't try to be blown away. Like the job titles are misleading. There are some of you work, say, as a retail supervisor, okay, and your title is retail supervisor, but you do more work on systems. You have more systems experience than someone in a junior tech role, right? Someone who is in a junior tech role who might have been doing just standard, simple support, and all they do is my system is frozen, and they go and they reboot the laptop. And that's all they've done for the last 2 years. They work in tech. But somebody who is a supervisor in retail might need to understand some applications that are customized. They might, have had to troubleshoot that application. They might have had to learn the inner workings of these applications, how to add users to the applications, how to upskill or train, people that they supervise to be proficient in using that tool. So they have a level of understanding around customer support or how to support that tool. Tech support, rather, not customer support, but tech support. They understand this platform maybe at a higher level than another person might. They might understand even some hardware requirements because of how much they've used it. So this person has a lot of tech skills that they don't even count themselves as being in tech. Does that make sense? They have functional skills, right? The junior tech engineer, the junior tech support person has a label. They have a job title that says they are in tech. The retail supervisor does not have a title that says they're in tech, but what they do on a day-to-day basis, right, qualifies them, has given them a level of expertise that somebody with a title does not have. And this is the reason why recruiters want to have a conversation with you, because it's in learning more about the things you have done, your involvement in delivering an outcome. That is why I know what you're able to do and whether you can do this new job. Is someone following? So I want you to, again, don't discard your expertise. Don't discard the things you've done. Don't disqualify yourself from making, being one who is qualified or eligible to make this career transition because of the title you have holding or have held. All right. So what are some non-tech roles that, and then their equivalent tech value? I'm going to spend a little bit of time here because I want to hopefully show somebody themselves in here, right? So for example, people in retail, right? It's a non-tech role, you're in retail. What are some tech relevant value for somebody in retail? Some tech relevant skills that you already have. You already work on inventory systems. Those are highly technical, right? You work on POS platforms, whether on the software side or on the front end side. There's a level of complexity to some of these platforms that you are proficient in. And you tell me you're not tech savvy. You tell me you can't do tech when you're already doing more difficult tech than a lot of people who have the title, right? Someone in retail is involved in process optimization. You know how to make things work. That is very relevant for tech to excel. Someone in retail can have what we call team leadership. If you are a supervisor at the Kroger, right? You're a manager at the Walmart. you have team leadership skills. That means you know how to, you understand deadlines. You understand encouraging people and delivering projects on time. You understand, being there as a resource to your team. Team leadership, it's something that transcends any field. The bigger part, like those non-technical skills, actually hold more value than in some realms and ramifications, even more than the technical skills. I am of the opinion, and this is my personal thought, that you are those soft skills actually count for more, because you can learn the non-technical, you can learn the tech stuff. You can learn the tech stuff right now. I mean, name any skill, Python, you can learn it for, maybe getting deeper into artificial intelligence and, all of the LLMs and all of that. You can learn Python, you can learn SQL, right? That's what I teach and that's what I help people become or do. You can learn any object-oriented programming. You can learn application development. Heck, most application development has moved to non-code, right? Even for the coding specific ones, you can use, there's AI platforms today that will help you with, your initial draft of code and even continue to modernize it, right? You can use Copilot, you can use Claude to build. I mean, like highly complex development work is supported by artificial intelligence today. Okay, so the things that were almost exclusive, that brought a level of exclusivity to, or what's this word now? I'm looking, proprietary. That's a word I'm looking for. You probably get the word. It's not coming to my head. All right, right. But the thing that brought that level of exclusivity to some of the things that people regard themselves when they have in tech. Right now, artificial intelligence, it's simplified those things. Anybody can build an app now. Right now, there are complications or complexities in certain applications that you can't just prompt your way. You can't vibe code into. But standard app development, anybody can do that now. All right. If you're in healthcare, for example, there's a lot of skills and a lot of expertise that you bring to the table that are directly relevant or translate to or tech adjacent skills. Compliance and documentation. You do not know how important compliance is. I work as a database engineer. My area of expertise is in this realm. Compliance is a big deal. The biggest way, one of the ways companies throw away money is through compliance. It's by not following. We have specific standards, industry standards that we have to follow around, data and data storage, around encryption, all of these things. If you're in healthcare, you're already very familiar with working and doing compliance. You're already very comfortable doing documentation. A very big thing for us as well, especially in the data space. Documentation, documenting processes, doing your root cause analysis and documenting the steps you took to resolve an issue. That's something healthcare people already do very well. You don't think of that as an IT skill, but I promise you it's going to help you be proficient as a tech professional. All right. For healthcare people, you are very good with high stakes workflows. Again, complex workflows is something you do. You would not believe how much of that we do as well in tech, whether it's with development or product development, some coding projects, all of that, right? Healthcare people, whether you are, depending on whatever parts of healthcare you're in, systems accuracy is a big deal for you all, right? Systems accuracy is a very big deal. Okay, again, talk to any developer, right? The reason why we have bugs and have to fix bugs all the time is around this. Or a lot of times the performance issues that we get to deal with and have to resolve are systems dependent, are systems inspired, right? And for a healthcare person, you're already doing this. You're already in, you understand the value and importance of system accuracy. Another skill you have as a healthcare professional right now that translates directly to tech is collaboration across teams. I can remember, I have 3 kids, 3 daughters, and been a part of being there for the birth of all of them. The second one, I was the only one that was there because she was born in the car. We didn't make it to the hospital, but that's another story for another day. But for all 3 of my daughters, I was present to have them delivered, and it's amazing the different set of people that are involved in this process, right? And through your time at the hospital, everybody, there's a specialization, there's multiple specializations for every aspect of this process. And all of this specializations work in cahoots for one single purpose. They work together. It's crazy and mind-blowing how they're able to play. Like somebody comes in and writes, and they follow the same pattern. They come in like, hey, my name is Dr. So-and-so, and they write something on the board, and they go through their part. Somebody else comes in and builds on what this other person has done. And it's the same consistent process. In healthcare, they are able to collaborate across teams. Even the same patient. It's incredible. Collaboration is something that we do and have to do in information technology. As a database engineer, I work on a database, but my database has to live on a system, some infrastructure. So I work with the infrastructure team, right? If there's an application that sits on the front end when my database is the back end, that means I have to be familiar with that application, or at least I'm going to be working with the application owners. I'm going to work with developers, the programmers. I have to be working with them, right? There's a network component to infrastructure that I have to be. There's when you're doing your installation for your servers, there's network configurations that we have to have. Right now, with installing SQL Server, we're navigating and going to group managed service accounts, right? You don't know what that is if you're not a database person or a SQL Server person, okay? But that involves certain network configurations that we may not be privy or have access or permissions to do. And guess what? Now would have to go talk to the network engineers. We have to work with them. In some places, we have, some companies have a separate standalone backup team. All right. The backup people, again, do very important work. And now we're thinking, okay, databases have to be backed up. The backup schedule has to work with the server backup strategy that's working. You see how collaboration across teams, how many teams have I talked about just to support my databases? So collaboration is a highly sought after skill. Again, I want you to see yourself and see that you already have things that are relevant that will translate into information technology. We talk about for healthcare people, you work in highly tech-powered environments. I feel like hospitals are the most tech-powered environments, tech-driven environments I have ever seen. There's latest and the greatest in technology in terms of tools and platforms, software, hardware. A lot of hospitals are just incredibly tech heavy. Again, because I have kids, I get to do different things around different hospitals, in different areas. I went to the new, if you're in Atlanta, the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. Now it's Atto Blank Hospital. Uncle Atto owns the whole of Atlanta, right? I've gone to that facility a few times, the Atto Blank Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Hospital facility, Midtown. It is incredible. It is a beautiful facility, multiple buildings. It's crazy. But the tech magic going on in there it's mind-boggling. It's somewhere you can, if it wasn't a hospital, it would be a very good site to just visit and sightsee and just go check out the beautiful thing that's going on here. It's incredible. Shout out to Otto Blank for what he's done and continues to do for the good people in Atlanta. But I'm trying to highlight for healthcare people, you're already working in this kind of environment. It translates into tech. All right. Now, for people who are in management and operations, you're very good with process design, right? Process design, stakeholder communication. Oh God, stakeholder communication. One of the biggest skills. I always talk about this skill as one of the non-technical skills you need to get into information technology. Communication, the ability to take complex technical concepts and translate that into understandable pieces of information for people who are not technical, right? To leadership, to C-suite people, to the business folks. People who do that well excel. People who do that well excel easy. So stakeholder communication, somebody in management and operations already does this well. It's part of your job. Metrics and reporting, you do not know how important this piece is. It's super relevant to the work. Metrics and reporting, to tech, it's very relevant. Risk management, that's again things that comes to my head that I can't afford to. I can't get into, for confidentiality purposes. But risk management, accountability, right? Again, going back to that leadership components, these are skills that are translatable. These are tech adjacent skills that you will require that will help you excel in tech. So I might not have called your specific career or career path or field, but I've taken time to go through these different fields and specific skills and, try to show you the relationship. and how it translates into information technology, right? When you're doing any of these roles, you weren't just working a job. You are operating within systems, and that is your credibility. That is your qualification. So I need you to drop the imposter syndrome and telling yourself, well, you're not going to be good at this. I've just shown you that you can, and you are already good at it. You're already doing relevant things. Are there skill gaps? Yes. Just like a person in tech coming to do your job, they will have to go get some training. They will have to go equip themselves. Same deal, right? Same deal. It's not different. You're already operating within systems. You can do this, right? The year is still very young. The year is very, very young. And if you were still on the fence about, okay, I know I want to get into tech, but I don't know if this is for me. Well, this is your sign. This is your answer, right? And so it's super important, and so now it's, you're wondering, okay, well, how do I tell the story, right? And I want to talk about what I call the translation gap. And this is really me speaking to why good experience gets ignored, right? This is, I want to highlight where people go wrong. Okay, where people go wrong, especially when you're trying to demonstrate your proficiency, right? Common mistakes I've seen people make is you're listing duties instead of results. In your resume, it's not about what I did. It's not about my responsibility. It's about the results I achieved, right? I was able to get this. Speak to the result, not the task, not the duty that not the title. Okay, and then use industry specific language. That's something, again, especially in this era of resumes are explored using software, ATS platforms review resumes, and so you're not keywords are plugged into the software to filter out resumes, and so you need the right language. You need to put the right technical language. Again, what's the adjacent of the thing you've done to the field you're trying to apply for? Use language relevant to what you're trying to apply for to describe what you have done. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Use language that's specific to the place you're trying to go. Okay, if let's say meetings, for example, you led a team, and you've led a team, you hold meetings regularly with your team, you give them their tasks, you guys meet regularly to deliver projects, all of that, and you're your operations manager somewhere, and you're trying to apply for a manager role, a tech, a tech adjacent manager role, or a project management, technical project managers, agile delivery lead type role, for example, and you're trying to translate that. You're not going to say, I met with my team and we did this. You're going to use the language. You're going to talk about sprints and backlogs. You're going to use language that is consistent with the agile space, that that's consistent with the role, that's consistent with product development and product management, right? Versus what you did. It's still the same job. It's still the same thing, but we have a different language. Translate what you did over here to the language that these people speak. Make sense? So use industry specific language. Recruiters will not, recognize that because they don't know what you're saying here. But when you use this language, they understand it. Their software understands this language, and you don't get filtered out. All right, and then another mistake I've seen people make is they undersell, leadership and problem solving. I promise you, this is such a big deal, right? Problem solving, half of the time, a lot of our work, especially if you're in like production support and any realm of support, problem solving is a game changer. Highlight that in when you're talking about your experience. Your resume, shout it out. Your leadership skills, your problem solving skills, they matter and they count. Another mistake is people try to sound technical instead of valuable. Sell yourself on value and results, and not just try to speak the technical language. I coach and I mentor students, like I've talked about that a few times, and I teach this to my students. When you're talking to recruiters, your recruiters are not engineers. They're not listening. You're not trying to. The ATS software does more technical review than it pays more attention to technical language than the recruiters are. You trying to sound super technical and you want to explain indexes and clustered and non-clustered index and always on availability groups to a recruiter, you are speaking in tongues. Basically, they don't understand what you're saying. All right, you're speaking a foreign language to them. That's not what they do. Some recruiters who have done this long enough might be able to understand because of proximity and affinity to this conversation. However, it's not their job to understand any of that. If you're speaking to a recruiter and you're trying to show them you have the expertise that they're looking for, you don't do that by telling them, trying to get technical with them. You don't have enough time to do that, to convince them. You want to demonstrate value. You want to speak to results. You want to speak to accomplishments. You want to speak to, and the impact. That's what makes you relevant. That's what makes you memorable. Recruiters keep resumes that feel irrelevant. Right? It's just full of buzzwords and all of that. Clarity beats buzzwords. All right, clarity, like clearly stating accomplishments, clearly stating your responsibility in those accomplishments, the scope of what you've done. It beats throwing fancy buzzwords on a resume. All right, so there is, again, one of the things we do at NSTAR with our students. 99.999% of the students that come to us come from non-technical backgrounds, and they're looking to get into database administration or Scrum, right, or any projects, any of the fields of our training. When it comes to this time, we take them through a season of actually teaching them the technical stuff, so you're proficient in the technology, and then we have a repackaging framework, and it's really following a 3-step model. Now I'm giving you internal stuff: extract, translate, and position. Right, we identify the systems, the tools, the decisions, the things you've done basically, and the tools you've used and the platforms you supported in your current life. Right, we look at those things, and then we translate all of that. We convert the task you did in your current gig, in your current background, and convert those tasks into outcomes in database administration, outcomes in Scrum, right? And then we try to measure impact. We're trying to be able to explain the impact of those outcomes as they would read in our own scenario. Hope that makes sense. That's the translation piece. And then we position you in a way where we align your experience from wherever you're coming from with roles like our database administration as a DBA or as a Scrum Master, right? And so that's the process we follow. People always wonder, well, how do I show experience? This is me really telling you what we do. Okay, we take what you've done and we help you be able to show you how all of these things map to each other, so that I can show you that when you are doing this, you are actually doing, this is the equivalent of it in database administration. And that's what you are actually doing from a DBS perspective. The only thing is you are using a different tool. As DBS, we're using a different tool that you already have been trained on. All right? Hope everyone gets it. That's what we do, and that's what we help you, do. So, I need you to just, again, go out, you look at your resume and begin to rewrite that experience. Can you start translating it? Now you might need to do some training and to understand, depending on the career path. If you're interested in that tech transition, please make sure you reach out to us, get in the description. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk about your strengths and which of these roles align better with where you're coming from. Whether you're in healthcare, whether you're in retail, accounting, marketing, any of those spaces, you can make that transition. I've already demonstrated to you that you are likely already doing things that are tech heavy. You are likely already doing stuff that people in tech are already, you're already doing. And to some extent, you're just using different tools and you're being paid differently for it. Okay, so let's have a conversation. Let's show you how we can help you accomplish all of that. And also, my as I'm wrapping this up, if you've been discounting your experience, today should change all of that. If you've been talking down on the work you already done and saying, hey, that doesn't qualify, I'm not eligible, I'm not going to excel, in tech, I hope you feel differently. Please go ahead. I'm going to be having our next Career Accelerator Live this coming Saturday, depending on when you watch it. That will be on the 31st of January. I'll be having our Career Accelerator Live, and I'm going to be getting even more in-depth into some of these conversations, so spend more time, going into it. So please go ahead and register for it. Once again, subscribe to the channel, get in our mailing list, hit us up in the comments, and we'll send you the details if it's not already in the description. And we have a free guide as well on how to become a database administrator. That's the realm that I teach in and I speak to. Please go ahead and download that guide. And we have a community platform for career changes. Tech Hub. It's, we have our internal platforms. Do go ahead and join. And yeah, I want to help you make this shift this year. Let me know if you know how I can help. I'm here to. I want to serve as many people as possible this year. My goal is, to help at least 500 people make career transitions into information technology. All right. You don't need a new past. You need a new lens. All right. That's where I end up. Thank you so much for listening. God bless you, and stay workforce ready. I'll see you again next Saturday, both on this platform and also on our Career Accelerator Live. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.